Carla, if you want to hop off mute and just share your story with us, thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's an honor to be asked. Thank you. And when Megan messaged me 2 days ago, I was like, heck yes, let's do this now. So I don't know about you guys, but I miss all of you. I miss our live events. I miss all the interactions, and Zoom is the next best thing, and super grateful to have this technology so that we can connect, because this is just the thing that is so amazing about this business is it's the community. It's the like-minded people. It's knowing we have each other's backs come thick or thin. Yeah, the money is fabulous. It's wonderful to be able to build income and plan your lives the way you want to, stay home with your children, do all of that. It's great to have, the different amazing products that support our health. But when we boil down to the grassroots, the brass nuts of everything, if everything was stripped away, we need each other. We need community. We need family. If we had nothing but each other, we would do something good. And so that's an interesting perspective when we look at some of the bumps that we come across in our businesses as well. So I'm just going to share briefly my story because some of you may not really know it or know only bits of it. Super passionate about natural health and wellness. That's been my career. I'm 40 years in clinical practice and I don't look it. And that's another story. But anyway, so I probably needed to go to a 12-step program to stop me from going to courses and learning more. Bill would joke and say, someone else would go all excited to go to a beach holiday, and you're that excited when you go to a weekend training and you come back with new skills and new tools. And that's probably cheaper than a holiday in the tropics anyway. But anyway, so I was at the World Natural Medicine Conference in the year 2000, learning. And Dr. Carolyn DeMarco, who is a BC resident, Canadian medical doctor, was doing a talk on menopause. And I followed her work. Back in those days, we didn't have email, internet, I know this is weird to say, but I had her book and she was speaking. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to go and listen to this woman real live in person. And so at the end, I stood in this big long line of people to go up and say, thank you for your book. Thank you for your work. It's changed my career. It's helped my patients. And I was just at that time studying pediatric Chinese medicine and super excited about the incredible results I was getting with little infants and babies and toddlers. And she looked at me and she said, have you ever thought of adding essential oils into your practice? And I was actually speechless, which anybody knows me, that doesn't happen very often. But I was kind of like, huh, no, that's a thing. And she said, all the amazing stories you've told me about the great results you're getting with acupuncture, I can tell you those same stories using essential oils. And that actually made me stop and go, like, for real? Like, I trust this woman. Like, she was my icon, my mentor, right? And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And she said, well, for one, I've dabbled in a lot of different essential oil companies, and Young Living's been the only one that's given me consistent results. So just don't even mess around, go straight there. So I'm like, okay. And then she says, you need to get started with the start kit, which back then was 7 oils. And I don't even think it had a diffuser. And I told her about Bill's chronic back pain because my husband fractured his back so badly that he was this close to being a paraplegic 30 years ago. And she said, the raindrop kit. So that was my very first order. And that got me started. Scared to use it outside of my family because I thought, you need to know, you need to be trained, you need to be the expert. Didn't realize that oils were so easy to use. Did what every good practitioner does, is experimented on my children. So they were age 7 to 14. And, they had age 7 to 14 challenges. And every time I pulled out an oil and used it, it worked. I pulled out the VHS videotape and stuck it in the VHS machine and put Bill on the bed and said, we're doing this raindrop thing, and stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. Got the raindrop done. he had 10 days of the best pain relief he'd ever had. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm onto something. So then I went, okay, I still don't really know much about using these. And I was scared to take him into the clinic. Dr. DeMarco, love her to pieces, but she's not a business builder. She's just stepping into that right now after lots of years of encouragement from me, but she didn't follow up. She didn't give me any backup, any information, like nada. So I was left floundering. And then she finally reached out to me and said, I'm actually coming to Calgary to do a raindrop training in 2 days, but sorry, it's so late notice. I canceled my patients. I cleared my schedule. I drove to Calgary and got home at 2 a.m. because it ran so late. But that little tiny bit of knowledge and training, I'm like, okay, this isn't brain surgery. I can take these oils into my clinic and use them. So I picked my 10 most long-term chronic patients, the ones that I knew wouldn't think I was Looney Tunes by trying this, and the ones that were like, super excited when I'd go for a new course or a new training, because they're like, maybe she'll bring me back something that will move me along a little further. So I did something just really simple. I took the Everyday Oils kit and I took one oil that matched whatever the main problem they had was, and I put it on the soles of their feet. And then I did everything else the same. So if they had immune issues, I put thieves on the bottom of their feet. If they had pain, I put Panaway on the bottom of their feet. If they had stress, I put lavender. And I thought, I'm just going to wait and see. So I expected maybe 3 or 4 people to come back and tell me that it made a difference. And over the next 2 weeks, they all filtered back for their next appointment, and 10 out of 10 raved, literally said, this was the best treatment. And I had one of those patients that was the world's resident skeptic. Like every time I tried something new on him and it worked, he'd come back and go, well, it was better, but I put purple socks on that morning, so it must have been purple socks. And I'm like, okay, fine, Eric, okay. And he was like, those oils work. That was amazing. And I'm like, holy crow, I've got something really special here. So at that point, I was very, very anti-MLM. I might have said 1,000 times, I wish this wasn't a network marketing company, because I had negative experiences from previous interactions with family members that were into some other companies. And I was like, dang, And then the weirdest, coolest thing happened. About November 5th of 2006, I was in a Vancouver hotel going to another course, and my phone rang, and Mike McLean and was on the other end, and I recognized his name because he was the top of the company, running the company at the time. He said, congratulations, you've earned an all expenses paid trip to the Caribbean. And my reply was, oh, it's nice of you to call, Mike, but you've got the wrong person. And I sincerely actually said those words, believing them. And there was this pregnant pause on the other side of the line. And he was like, no, this is Carla Green, right? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't participate in the business side of Young Living. And I didn't enter a contest. So how could I have earned like this? And he says, well, you don't enter it, you earn it. And I said, well, what did I do to earn it? Because I hadn't read any of the rules. I paid no attention. I saw it go by, but I paid no attention. And he said, you've helped people get started with Young Living, and you've helped them get on Essential Rewards, and you get points for that. And you have enough points that you've won this cruise. And I'm like, okay, well, I have done that. So maybe this is for real. And so, okay, fine. My next thing was, I don't want to go alone. And he said, well, you can go with a friend, a husband, whoever. And so I pick up the phone and call Bill and go, oh my God, we are look what's happening. And his reply without a beat was, I'm not going. You know what those network marketing crazy people are like? We're going to be stuck on a ship and we're going to be cornered by these people. And my response back is, we haven't traveled for years. Before we had kids, we did lots of international travel. And I said, this is free. I've never been on a cruise ship, but they look really big and I think we can hide. We'll just get our butts there. And that's what we did. And we fell in love with this most amazing community of beautiful people that really cared about their fellow man. And we were just swept away by the community is what got us. And then the person in the cabin right next to us, Dawn Claire, about our age, said, you guys don't have a clue about the business side of Young Living, do you? And we went, well, yeah, actually, we've kind of made a point of not knowing about it. And so he sat us down for an hour. He gained nothing by it. He wasn't in our organization. It was just out of the goodness of his heart. So we came back and we decided, hey, this is actually a really amazing profession. Let's actually embrace the business and run with it. So that was 2007. We emailed and reached out to all the people on our team and said, hey, there's a business to this. And within 48 hours had someone come back and say, oh, thank God, I didn't think I could reach out to you. I've really wanted to build a network marketing business and I love Young Living products, but I didn't know where to go with it. So 2007, we stepped into the business. 2013, we were the first Canadian Diamonds, and our son, Adam, all 4 of our children are in Young Living. We have 2 that have reached gold rank, 1 silver and 1 Royal Crown Diamond. And so it's blessed their lives tremendously. My daughter now lives 200 yards from me and wouldn't be able to live in this town and be able to live wherever she wanted in the world if it wasn't for Young Living. Most of you know Adam and his story and the beautiful life he's got. My other 2 boys are engineers and they both lost their jobs. One for a year and a half, 3 months after they bought a new house. This was a couple of years ago when everything went into a slump back then. And none of them broke a sweat. My son would have lost his house if he didn't have his Young Living income. My other son took 6 months off and fished and gardened and stuff because he didn't have the financial stress of having that income swept out from underneath him. So a lot of you might have seen some videos of my mother. She lived to the ripe age of 96. And honestly, Young Living was a massive part of her health and wellness. And I believe a real big player in the fact that she lived so well right to her final days. And once again, I was able to fly once a month to Ontario for 10 months to help with palliative care when her journey was coming to an end. And I didn't ever have to look at my bank account. I didn't have to ask anybody for time off. And she died in my arms, and that would not have happened if it wouldn't have been for Young Living. So it's a beautiful journey. And right now, our biggest passion, having reached the top of the company, is all of the beautiful people that are in Young Living, whether they're in our team or not in our team. How can we help you? How can we help you to reach your goals and your dreams? How can we mentor you? How can we guide you? How can we inspire you? Because the work is worth it. And it wasn't a smooth ride. Every business, every profession, doesn't matter whether you're self-employed or whether you're an employee, when you look back on your careers, there's peaks and there's valleys. There always are. I went into physio because of my love of the human body and my love to help people be their best selves. And it was like, okay, I'm guaranteed a job for the rest of my life because physios are rare birds and they're always in demand. Well, guess what? I graduated in 1981 and there was a province-wide freeze on hiring physios. So physios were out there flipping burgers and waitressing because they couldn't get a job. So it doesn't matter, you know, it's temporary though, right? So same in network marketing, same in any company. I look back on the 21 years of Young Living, the 14 of actively building, and we've been through some really low times, some really rough times. Probably a lot of those times were before you guys ever heard of Young Living. And we went through some really, really, you know, low times in our business and building, and saw our teams, you know, filter away and people leave and new people come in. But the wisdom of being able to look back on 14 years is to know that every time that happened, we came out better. We always came out better. There was always a silver lining. You know, the story of when life gets rough, you know, the people that stay by your side, those are the true people that you lock arms with through your journey in life, whether it's personal, whether it's best friends. Like I've had some best friends that I hardly even talk to anymore because they were meant to be in my life during that phase of my life. And they were my rock and we locked arms. And now we have drifted apart. I believe that we weren't ever meant to be best friends forever. We were meant to be best friends for that time frame. And the same happens in your businesses. The people that you think you're going to walk on stage with to accept, awards for your next rank or whatever, they might be the ones that are right by your side, but there might be brand new faces, and those other people might have moved on to whatever else has enticed them. And that's okay, because it's a big world and there are a lot of people. And when you really get down to brass tacks, and this is what I find, is helps you to be more encouraged in your business, is you only need 6 running buddies in 6 different legs. And it matters not what level they are in that leg. You only need 6 people to find. Can you find 6 people in your lifetime that will be as passionate as you are about the business, about sharing, about this company, about the legacy? Absolutely. 6 people is not a lot of people, but you don't know when those 6 people are going to turn up. You don't know if they're already on your team and you haven't reached out to them and explained what is going on. And I'm working with a wonderful lady now who's originally from Romania, and because of project broadcast texting and because of building community just through being of service in that venue, she made a comment to me about being interested in the business. So of course we set up a Zoom immediately. I've been working with her. She's gone through Richard Blissbrook's Momentum Masterclass, which I can't say enough about that option. And we just talked the other day, and she said to me, Carla, I was ready to start this business 2 years ago. I was ready to step into it, but nobody reached out to give me any guidance or support. Now, it's not 100% true because I know the leader above her, but I think it was not as direct as it could have or should have been. Hey, there's a business in this. Would you be interested in taking a look? If you're not interested after you look, no big deal. That's the kind of thing she needed. Instead of, filtering little tidbits to her and kind of hinting and whatever, it's like, hey, there's a business. I can tell you about it. You can choose. And if it's not for you, that's cool. This lady had that happen to her 2 years ago, may well have stepped into the business 2 years ago. But everything happens for a reason. Everything has its own timing. She can say, Carla, I was ready 2 years ago, but was she really? Did that message get there? But it was filtered by whatever was going on in her life. Busyness. She has a very severely autistic son who's 16 now, so he would have been 14. Maybe the message was there, but she couldn't hear it because for her, it wasn't the right time yet. And now it is. So I don't think we need to beat ourselves up. I think we do need to be our best selves and, do our best to communicate, and just always, if you're always of service to other people, then you can't ever go wrong because you're providing whatever they need for them at the time that they need it. So that's my story in a little longer version and a little more detail than I usually give it, but I also don't second guess what comes into my head because I don't prep for these things. I didn't even know who I was going to be talking to or what the topics were. I just dove in and talked.
I love it so much. I think who needed to hear this exact message today? This was exactly it. It's this belief, this reminder of that what we're doing is on purpose. It's intentional. It's meant to be this way. Vicki, I love you. Carla, do you have a few minutes if there's any questions?
I can stay on as long as you guys want.
Okay, yeah. Is there anybody that had any? Yeah, Emily.
I have a question. Carla, most of us sadly will never get to meet Gary, and I feel like Gary really sets our company apart. It was his movement that started all of this. Can you talk a little bit about what impact he had on you?
I am so glad you asked that because, like I said, I don't prep for this, and I had intended to talk about Gary because that is part of the reason this community, this company is so, it's not like any other company. I think you guys know that. Okay, so Gary Young totally impressed me the first time I met him. So we told you the cruise story. So we were on the cruise. People were like all over Gary. We weren't all over Gary because we didn't really care, kind of like, we're not those people that are like, oh my God, I got to touch you, whatever. And we kind of felt a little bad for him because he was like, always had these people around him, right? So we just sort of stayed away. And I was okay with that. So we were on a bus to go from the cruise ship back to the hotel at the end of the cruise. So Bill and I were sitting on the bus. We were on the third or fourth row. And all of a sudden someone came on, head office came on the bus and asked if 3 or 4 people could volunteer to move to a different bus because Gary, Mary, and their 2 little boys, 14 years ago, you can imagine how little those boys were going to be coming onto this bus. And who sat across the aisle from me? Gary Young. We had a 45-minute ride. So he was like, hi, who are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Totally, like, you were always the only person that Gary focused on when, like, he was never distracted by somebody around him. At the time, we had just launched our Second Chance Facial Rejuvenation training system that integrates a lot of Young Living, and was part of the reason we had sort of accidentally built our team a little bit bigger to get this cruise as well. And I said, I would love for more Young Living people to know about this training that they could use to also build their businesses. And he said, oh, I know someone in Edmonton. Mary's got their number in my phone, or in her phone. I will get it to you before we leave. I was like, okay, cool. And then the bus stopped. Who was the first person off the bus? Gary. Not because everybody got held back because the king had to get off the bus. He ripped off that bus. He whipped open the side of the bus and he started hauling all those massive suitcases off the bus for the people that were on the bus. The bus driver hadn't even had time to get off yet. While he's slogging suitcases off the bus, he's shouting to Mary, can you please get Carla here, the name of this person in Edmonton, so she can connect with them and she'd have a bit more support in building her Young Living business. And I'm like, oh my Lord, this is the head of the company. This is the most humble, caring man I've ever laid my eyes on. And that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Him and Bill Bill is very much like Gary in a lot of ways, and they really connected. And so he loved to talk to Bill. One of the times Bill was up hunting with Gary. Gary invited Adam and Bill to go hunting with him. And so they had a bigger group. And then Gary leaned over to Bill and said, we're going from here up to our private camp just with Jacob. And why don't you and Adam come up there? And so just Bill and Adam and Gary and Jacob and their guide were up at this camp. And Gary would give his right arm for you. He really cared. Mary as well. I've seen people go to Mary, such and such is out of stock. I have a, special needs child that this oil is like its lifeline. And Mary would take down their information and go to her private stash and mail them a bottle, not charge them for it. So there are lots of other companies out there. There are probably lots of other great products out there. You could probably build in a different company with a different product. I don't think I can think of any company on this planet that has the history, that has that passion and compassion, that, like Gary said, I make products for a purpose, not for a profit. Now, he has to be profitable, otherwise he wouldn't be in business, right? But honestly, over the years that we've been with Young Living, he has made decisions that were detrimental to the company financially to be able to bring something to us that the world really needed. And other companies don't do that because it's always the bottom line that is the most important. And I truly, truly believe that that energy is inside each of our products. I really believe that. It's in our oils, it's in our supplements, it's in our personal care products. You might just whip out that bottle of face cream and think it's just a bottle of face cream, but there's 21 years of love. There's 21 years of only wanting the best for the world and for humankind that is in that product. And even though Gary is not on this side of the veil anymore, he's still got his hand in everything. His energy is still there. His children, Mary, even the corporate staff. And yes, corporate staff come and go. Don't get tied up on corporate staff that leave. We fall in love with them. We feel like they're family, but they are literally professionals that go from one company to another company and do their great work. And when their job is done, it's their time to move to a new company. And so that is another thing that I learned, because when at the beginning, like these corporate staff, they do start to feel like our family, which is not like other companies either. And there's a blessing and a curse to that, because when they move on, you're devastated. You're like, what could have happened? This is horrible. But it's not. I can tell you that every time that's happened, I don't blink anymore. It's like, oh, we're on to next phase. We're on to somebody new. They're making a space for somebody that has different skills and different tools to take us to that next level. And so whether they leave on their own because they have chosen to move to another company to work up their corporate ladder, or whether they were asked to leave because their contract was up and Young Living wants to move to somebody different, it's all good. We have to just always have faith. Mary and the corporate staff, they want just the best for Young Living, and they want Young Living to become #1 in the network marketing world. And I 100% believe I will see that in my lifetime. We are #7 now in the network marketing world, and we are the youngest company of that list of 7. The ones above us are a lot older than us. So it's a beautiful time to be with Young Living. We've got some exciting changes coming that are happening in Canada, not till the end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year. US market is rolling them out first. But once again, it's all positive. It's all good. It's going to be a little bit of a speed bump just to learn some of the new lingo and the new ways of doing it. But just know that it's going to put turbocharges on your business.
Awesome. Oh, it's so amazing to hear that history and to hear that connection. I love, like Emily talks a lot about Gary in her presentations, and I love how it's like this family-owned business that it kind of exploded, right? Like this is a very family-oriented place. So I love that so much. Maybe we'll do one more. Does anybody else have a question that they want to throw out to Carla before we wrap up? This is the joyful thing about Zoom and kind of wait. Maybe
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I just want to say, it's not really a question, but I just want to say thank you for touching on the leaving piece, because when the Jared thing came down, I was like, oh my God, does this mean the company's gonna yeah, it was really big. So that was huge, because I was like, okay, thank you.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Remember I said Mike McLean called us in 2006 to say we'd won the cruise? Mike was just like Jared. Mike was Jared #1 in our world. Gary treated him like a son. Gary called him a son. Like Gary has that kind of connection with his corporate staff. So when Mike McLean left, like I might have even shed a tear. Like I was devastated. And how could this happen? And, just rumors ran around, and we all thought the rug was being pulled out from under us. Well, that has now happened. That has now happened multiple times. Hang on, can't find my button. Oh, I think it's my grandson trying to Zoom his grandma. Hang on. Okay. All righty. So that has happened to us so many times now, we don't blink, because we know Mike left. He actually went to a competing company, which that was like, but again, they're corporate people. They walk up their ladders. You know, they're meant to be with the company for a period of time. One of the things that Adam said to me, which I thought, oh yeah, that's kind of cool too, because we just had a lot of people leave. Mike McLean, we've had lawyer, Matt French, you know, I know these people. I, you know, have been on many company business things with them as well, right? And okay, we're a $2 billion company, people. The needs of a $2 billion company are very different than the needs of a $1 billion company. Sometimes we need new blood, we need new skills, we need new tools. And sometimes people can get complacent if they're in a position for a long time. Even in the world of, like I worked with a very excellent functional medicine doctor. When I got diagnosed with Hashimoto, she said to me, you can't fix this naturally, you have to go on Synthroid. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. No. And so I did my own homework. I managed to reverse a lot of what was going on with me in 3 months just with self-care. And then I realized, okay, I love this doctor to death. I will still refer people to her, but I need to level up. I need a new practitioner. I need someone that can work past. I'd hit the ceiling with her. Love her to pieces. She's an amazing practitioner. I will always refer people to her, but I needed to level up. So when you look at the corporate staff leaving and more corporate staff coming in, Young Living's leveling up. We need different skills and tools and maybe different personalities. Even in the legal side, we've seen some more robust action on the legal side that we've been craving for a long time since the new lawyer has come on board. So maybe, you know, that was part of what we needed, right? So yeah, just take a deep breath. Remember Carla's story about Mike McLean, and it's all good.
That just reminds me of how the new life that can come to our own teams when we get a new business builder. Like
Exactly.
They're hungry and new and fresh and running. So that's so exciting to hear, and like to translate that to a corporate level as well.
Yeah. And then think of what that does to your energy when you get a new excited building and how that ripples out into your team. So this is what's happening with Young Living corporate is they need to level up. They need to get the right people in. And what does that do? It elevates all of the corporate staff, even the ones that are still there. Everybody feels that rush of positivity and that rush of energy, right? So it's, you know, the one thing I've learned, and it gives me so much peace, even when we see our income kind of do a massive dip and you're like, oh my God, even then I'm like, okay, this is one of those little dips and valleys. Let's just hang on for the ride. Now knuckle down, pivot. 2020 has in a lot of ways increased our businesses because people, it's so easy to jump on Zoom. Like Megan, I live a long piece from Megan. Megan called me 2 days ago and say, hey, Carla, you want to hop over to the island and we'll just do this? Ooh, definitely that's not going to work really quick, right? But here I am, right, on Zoom. Like we have so much at our fingertips. We need to, instead of focusing on what we don't have anymore and what's changed and what's different, grab onto what we've got and polish it up. And that little piece of coal in your hand could be the best diamond in your business, but you just never looked at it that way. A good example of that, I'm going over here, sorry. Second Chance Facial Rejuvenation is our anti-aging training program that we teach. We've taught it for 17 years. So for 16 years, people have said, please, can you teach this online? I can't afford to come to Canada, or I can't afford to get to Alberta, or I can't leave my family. And we're like, it's impossible. Literally, there wasn't even a blink of a maybe. It's like, it's such a hands-on, it's such a practical course. There is zero chance it will ever be online, zero. Those words came out of my mouth numerous times. We sold the business to my daughter and her husband. They run it now. Of course, they hit COVID a week before one of our live trainings, the world shut down. They pivoted, they figured it out, and we have the best online training. We've trained people in Puerto Rico. We've trained people all over that wouldn't have physically been able to come to our class. We've never had one negative comment about our online training. It's the best. It was so easy. We were able to learn it perfectly well. So that word of never totally pivoted. So when we are able to go back to live trainings, we will always have online options together to be able to serve more people. But that was a hard no. And the gift of our world situation is that has transformed our business, and it transforms our Young Living business too.
That is so cool to just think of like what's been a hard no. Like anybody who did a hard no to the MLM and to running a business, it's like, how has that shifted? That's so amazing. Well, Carla, you have been amazing. I'm so grateful and humbled that you hopped on this literally 2 days after we asked, to just share and to like share your energy and your belief in this business, and to really explain how the work is totally worth it, and to be sitting on the other side of it has been so inspiring. I love just like the talk about how, you know, the oils were easier to use than you thought. You just put them on. You didn't have to be an expert, like all these golden nuggets. I'm so glad that we recorded this so that we can watch it again. Carla, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We so appreciate it. And I hope that it filled you guys up, that you were able to kind of pull that energy from Carla and see what is truly possible within this business.
And can I just add to Carla, when you talked about your kids, like the options they have now, I literally got goosebumps, because so many of us moms, like we're retraining the way we were raised to think of health, and now knowing that we're impacting another generation as far as their health goes, but the business as well, like, is something else that will generationally, like, forget residual income, like they're going to make their own incomes. And I had a powerful experience yesterday when my daughter was filling out her, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was all about, be an astronaut, be a this, be a that. And she's like, Mom, I want to do Young Living. She's in grade 1. And so to hear you say, like, you're 4, they all, like, maybe that's not their number one profession, but it's giving them freedom. So the health, and like, that's a legacy. And you are a living example of that with your family. I'm so grateful you shared that part as well.
Well, thank you. I know what comes out of my mouth is what somebody on this call needs to hear. I just sort of trust it when I open it. But I just want to also just say, every single one of you, Bill and I appreciate you so much. We know it's not an easy business. What profession is easy? Put your hand up if you have a profession that you know is just a cakewalk. Nothing in life is easy. So pick your hard, and I can't think of a better hard to pick than this kind of a business, with this kind of company, with this kind of a legacy, with this kind of life-changing products, with communities like beautiful Megan here. Like, she's doing this every bloody day. I was like, what? You do this every day? I got to up my game, Megan. And it was like, you know, we care about you, and you are always welcome to reach out to Bill or I at any time for any reason. I know you are in good hands with Megan, but we appreciate you, and we cheer when we see you rank up. And when ranking is ranking, just ranking up means you've helped that many more people, and you've just been able to move your business and your income in a positive direction. So I see, you know, rank ups and all those things as just a sign of your commitment to helping your fellow man, and that's a beautiful thing.
What a beautiful way to close. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have an amazing, wonderful Thursday. What a bright, shining light this morning that we've been able to be part of. Have a wonderful day.